Hey, folks, welcome back to the Land Fixer podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Logan Swanson. And today we have one hell of a guest. Everybody, welcome to the podcast, Gabriel Peterson. Hello.
Logan. Yeah, thanks for
Gabe,
having me on.
yeah, my pleasure. Gabriel's the host of the Real Estate Investing Club podcast. You can find him on, I think, all the podcatchers, right? You'll be on Apple
Yeah,
and Spotify and all that.
everything out there, we're on it.
Yeah, and you can also check them out at therealestateinvestingclub.com. Gabriel, thank you so much for joining us. Actually, before we get to you, I almost forgot. Folks, always remember if you need funding for your land investments, development projects, flips, anything of that nature, check us out at www.landpartnerfunding.com. We have just approved a number of larger projects. So bring us all your sweet deals. We are excited to review them. And that's it. Gabriel, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to get on here.
Yeah, man. You're not mainly a land guy, but you do have a lot of investments that people are asking me about pretty regularly. So you kind of specialize in mobile home parks, RV parks. I guess you tell us, what is your primary investment to date?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got started in doing wholesales and single family flips like a lot of guys out there. And that was like in 2014. I was doing mostly on the side. I was, working corporate here in Seattle, and I was just flipping every once in a while, doing some wholesales. And then in 2020, I bought my first commercial property that was a mobile home park here in Eastern Washington, and that kind of got the bug, set the light on fire. And so went full in and left my corporate job and focused 100% on, at that time it was mobile home parks. And since then I think it was 2021. I kind of got this shiny object syndrome. I always tell people
Mm,
don't follow shiny
don't do
object
it.
syndrome, but I did it, and I jumped into self storage. And I started buying self storage facilities, and so now those two assets and mobile home RV, I kind of lump them into two because they function similarly in the way that we run them. We run RV parks like long term stay, extended stay RV parks, so they kind of function like a mobile home park. So yeah, that's what we're buying now is mobile home parks, RV parks, and self storage facilities.
All right, well, let's get into them one at a time. So, for mobile home parks, what are you typically looking for in underwriting? I know it's very complex compared to most land deals. I know you're probably looking for what the number of units, how many are occupied, et cetera. And the second part of my question is, I've seen a trend here in the Dallas area where people are buying mobile home parks and then they're parking their own mobile homes in them and renting the mobile homes as well. Have you done anything like that?
Yeah, that is a strategy. We don't like that because then you're essentially, I mean, you might as well buy multifamily at that point,
Hmm.
because you have to upkeep the mobile homes. And the reason, one of the attractions to owning a mobile home park is there are no structures outside of common areas. Like if you have a clubhouse or anything like that on the property, there is no structure that you need to take care of. You don't need to fix broken toilets. You don't need to fix windows, stuff like that. And that's why we buy it, is because we don't want to have to do that. But that is something that some people do. You do command, a greater income that way, but it's not. First of all, it's not. I would never underwrite to that model because um, the income that you get from the home itself. So you have your pad rent, $300 to $600 a month, and then if you own the mobile home and you're renting out the mobile home, say 1,000, 1,500 bucks a month, everything above that 300 to 600 is considered it's not capitalized. And so when you go to sell the property, you can't actually capitalize that income, so you can't apply a
Mm.
cap rate to it. You have to do a gross rent multiplier, and so it doesn't really force value like it would if you were to actually bring in, do infill and then sell the mobile homes and just take the pad rent.
Interesting. Yeah. So, from your perspective, then, are you moving in and out of these? Are you buying and selling them regularly, or are you mostly gathering them up for long-term holds?
Um, yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on a lot of things. Like it depends on the deal. It depends on the partnership, the structure, what they want, all that stuff. Ideally, you know, we get a killer deal, we buy it, we force value, we do the stabilization, and then we just keep it and let it cash flow for as long as we want. But things happen and opportunities change and
Yeah.
partnerships change, and so you kind of have to adapt with the necessity.
Right. So let's start at step one in underwriting. So what would make a good mobile home park deal versus a bad mobile home park deal in your experience?
I mean, the golden egg, or I don't know what that phrase is. The great the great deal that you want is 100 pads plus city water, city sewer, and then the value, high occupancy, and the value add is that the rates, this is an old owner, they haven't done anything, they don't have it on Google, they don't have, it's just there's no presence, and they haven't raised rents in 300 years. And so that's the ideal scenario. That never happens. Those have been taken up. And then the worst scenario is a small park. It's on a lagoon. It's on a well.
Septic, yeah. Well,
It's just it's in a bad blue state, all that kind of stuff. So really, what you're looking for when you own a mobile home RV park, you're most concerned about what's underground.
yeah.
The septic, the sewer, the well, everything that's bringing the utilities into the property is a big deal. And so you want it to be publicly owned. So you want like city water, city sewer, and that's the ideal scenario. And then private, I have one that is both septic and well, and it's doing really good. We have had one septic tank completely fail, and we had to replace it, and they updated the codes in the county, and so it cost $45,000 to get
God.
up to their new scenario. So that's just something that you kind of underwrite to, is if you're buying something with septic tanks, you make sure, and you're not going to have that annual cost like you would if it were sewer, or the monthly cost, but you will hit a lump sum at some point. 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you're going to have to fork out $30,000 to
Yeah.
replace a septic. And so it's just something that you have to take into consideration.
Is each mobile home on its own septic, or is it like three per septic or something like that?
Yeah, and that it depends on the municipality that you're in, but it's never a one-to-one. It's we got, let's see, I'm just going to take out one park that we own here. There is I think it's 4 or 5 homes to a septic, and so you have multiple septics, but it's
Hmm.
never a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah. I have a friend who's developing an RV park right now, and he says it's four RVs per septic, something like that. So I imagine it'd be similar.
Yeah.
So in your due diligence, you're trying to find out, all right, is the plumbing good? I mean, that's the big one, right? Is the waste line good? The water line good? How do you investigate that? I mean, do you get it under contract and send someone out there to literally go dig it up or scope the pipes?
Yeah, yeah. You scope it, like if it's a septic, you dig it up, and you check. Just call a local septic company, have them
Hmm.
inspect it. They can flush lines, they can scope it, they can do whatever is necessary. You don't do every single one. So you test it out. If there's 15 septic tanks, you maybe test 20% of them, just to see if they're functioning, at least. And then the same. So one, I guess, value add that a lot of times will happen is, if it's a really old park, some of the water lines will have cracked, and so
Hmm.
you'll look at their P&L, and the
Water bill.
the water bill is like through the roof. And so that is actually a benefit to you, when you see that, because that's a relatively easy fix.
Hmm.
It's not free, but it doesn't take a ton of money to fix that, and you can really reduce costs by fixing that kind of stuff.
Okay. And do you go through any sort of like standard improvement process? I've seen a couple like mobile home parks around here that have been sort of transformed, and the new buyer comes in and I saw one guy put in a pool, I saw someone else put in a gate, things like that. Do you do any sort of amenities or improvements?
We never put in a pool. I don't think that's something we would put in. That's too much liability, and I just wouldn't want to do that. No, I don't like standard improvements that we want every single park to have. We really just bring it up to a good condition, and it depends on the home. Signage, um, landscaping, um, signage and landscaping, and then making sure the utilities are in good condition, putting up security, that kind of stuff is
Hmm.
relatively standard. But amenities, there's nothing specifically standard that we would do. I mean, maybe if we bought one in Florida, we'd put a pool in.
Yeah.
Definitely wouldn't put a pool up here in Washington, but yeah,
Do you like to keep them all local, kind of in your backyard?
I wish it would be great. We own two in Washington, and that's it. Just because it's really hard to find a deal up here. I mostly Texas, Indiana, Midwest kind of stuff. But Washington, it's like I don't know. There's just I've kept looking, and I just haven't found one.
Yeah, I've heard sort of on the West Coast, a lot of the investments are like appreciation plays. I mean, they may not even really be cash flowing that much, but folks are just hoping that someday they sell down the road for a buttload of money and whatever.
Yeah. And then, well, that's another thing is mobile homes. Most municipalities, mobile home parks, they're not allowing new mobile home parks, and so like you
Yeah,
can't go out there and develop them. It has to be in a very specific spot, and so what's there is very sought after, and it's usually in a location that it's not the highest and best use for that land. And so if you buy it, guys with a lot more money than me can buy it at a four cap and then hold on to it for a little bit and redevelop it 10 years down the line.
yeah. Do you struggle with how do you say, I guess, crime in sort of these areas? Do you have any horror stories about,
Yeah.
baby mamas go throwing down or something like that?
That's the one question everybody asks. And surprisingly, no. I have a lot more issues with crime for self-storage facilities than I do for mobile
Oh,
home parks.
sure.
Um, mobile, I mean, there's drama, but the property man, you just get if you have a good property manager, she won't bring she or he won't bring the drama to you. And they'll just kind of solve it. But there definitely is drama. It's just you never really have to deal with it.
Right. And how about the eviction process? So, I mean, if it's your house, right, and you're a single family home renter, you just kick the renter out. But here you have their home on your lot. Do you have to move that off yourself?
Yeah, I mean that we have never had to evict somebody who had their home on our land. And so I honestly I don't know what that process is like, but the eviction process in general is the same, as you would for multifamily. Um, but yeah, we've never had somebody who owned a home on the lot stop paying and then refuse to pay. We've had people get behind. There's tons of programs out there, especially for low income housing that people can go to get assistance. And so it hasn't gotten to the point where we've like literally had to evict somebody with a mobile home on the lot. Um, I'm assuming we just have to pay to move it, and that costs about $5,000 to $10,000,
I was gonna say that's
depending on
not a
where it's
cheap
moved.
move.
Yeah,
And then where do you send it? Like an
yeah,
impound
yeah,
lot?
exactly.
The neighbor's property?
You take this.
Well, so what? So you come in, you buy it. I mean, I guess you make your money on the buy, right? You have to get it at the right price point,
Yeah.
and then you raise rents. So how do you determine market rents in an area? Is there a software that helps you with that, or do you do any sort of like internal studies?
No, we just call local parks and figure out what everybody else is charging. Just comp it like everybody else.
Yeah, very simple
um,
approach.
yeah, other parks they're gonna, parks with good management are gonna make sure that they are at market. And so if you just call the good ones, figure out what they're at, compare it to your park, and then base the rates off of that. Um, yeah, that's the easy way to do it. And we increasing rent is one way to value add for mobile home parks, but that's not usually the case. That's just kind of best case scenario is something easy like that. But generally, it's infill, and that's
Mhm.
for mobile home parks. It's a lot more difficult than RV parks, extended stay RV parks, because with RV parks they have their own house that's on wheels, and they can just drive it in and park it, and you're good to go. Mobile home parks, like I said, we literally just bought one and moved it into our park last month, and it was I think it was $5,000 to move it, and then to prep it, so skirting, connections, all that kind of stuff. I think all in, it was about $10,000 to get it set up. And so it's not cheap, to get it into the park, but that is the main way to value add for mobile home parks, is doing infill, filling lots with new homes.
Okay, so I guess make sure I understand this. So do you own most of the mobile homes in the park, or the other people own them? How does that, is there a breakdown of both?
No, we don't. So there's tenant owned and park owned homes. That's
Okay,
like kind of how they're broken into. We don't want any park owned homes, but
gotcha.
to fill a park. So if you have a park that has 100 sites and 50 of them are filled, you have 50% occupancy. You need to fill up another 50. It is virtually impossible to get someone to bring in their own mobile home. For RV, you can do that. You can run ads. You can say, "Hey, we have this park. It's beautiful. It's clean. Come join us." And they'll bring their RV in. But for mobile homes, they have to pay $5,000,
Right.
$10,000 to get it in there. And so generally people, they just don't have that cash available. And so what you need to do is you buy the mobile home, you bring it into the park, and then you sell it. And so you sell it on contract, or rent to own, that kind of thing. And so you don't own the mobile home, but you did buy it and bring it in, because you brought it in, and then sold it.
Interesting. So what is so you mentioned two different instruments there for the financing. So I guess one is just like an owner finance structure where you maintain the, or what would you do? I guess you deed it to them. Is it a deed? I'm always a
No, it's
little
not.
confused when it
It's
comes
a
to
it's
mobile
a
homes, right?
Yeah, it's a vehicle,
It's a vehicle.
essentially. Yeah, it's got a VIN number, it's got all that stuff. And so yeah, you just, I mean, you have it's got title, and so
Mhm.
you have a deed of sale, and then you drop a contact, like seller financing. We're doing this right now. So we bought this mobile home. I think we paid $30,000 for it, or no, paid 25,000, and then we brought it in, and that cost 5,000. So now it's 30, and then we paid another five for skirting and all that stuff. So all in, I think it cost us about 35 to get it into the park, and we're selling it for 40. And so we're not making a lot on the home itself, but the goal is we just want that space filled and generating revenue. So we're not really trying to make money um on the home itself. And then we're selling it on contract. So they put $2,500 down, and then it's amortized over, I think, 10 years. I can't remember. 10% interest over
Okay.
over that period.
So at least you get to collect some interest on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then for, and I'm guessing you're getting these like secondhand. You're not going to the manufacturers to buy new ones. Is there a benefit to going one over the other?
I mean, you can make more money if you flip them, so you can bring old ones into your home and then flip them. Um, but it's just it's a whole business. It's like you got to spin up another business to do that. And so we're not trying to do that. We're right now we're actually just trying what we've done so far is we brought in relatively new mobile homes, did some
Hmm.
some light fixes, and then um, sold them. But what we want to do is get approved. There's programs out there where you have to become a dealer, like a mobile home
Yeah.
manufactured home dealer, and
Hmm.
all this stuff. But then you get financing to bring in from I can't remember the lender. You get financing, and then you can bring in new mobile homes and sell them.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like, well, because I know that a lot of mobile home parks will even have restrictions on like the year the mobile home was manufactured. So I
Mm-hmm.
imagine you would see better quality, better aesthetic product if you go new.
Yeah.
But maybe that just doesn't outweigh the price tag. Do you know what a new mobile home is going for in, like, I guess Texas is my market.
Yeah. I mean, 70, it depends, single wides and double wides. There's a big
Right. Yeah.
difference. So we just bought this one really cheap, but it was a kind of a weird situation where this guy, I think he was just really well off, and he was a hunter, but
Yeah.
his
Okay.
hunting lease expired. and he didn't want to do anything. He was just like, just take it. And so we paid, we got a really good deal on it. But usually, single wides, they can go from 40 to like $70,000.
Mm.
And then double wides, I mean, some places like in Wyoming and here in Washington, double wides are insane prices. It's crazy. They're like 200,000, 300,000. It's like,
Yes.
why? Yeah.
I guess you get the land with it though, right? If it's like are you saying you buy one that's already on on a lot?
Yeah, it's on a lot. It's
Yeah, okay.
like they're listed out there for $200,000 and you do not get the land.
Golly.
It's crazy.
So how about property management? I mean, you have these in multiple states. Do you just have someone that you like, all right, you give them a free lot rent, but they're responsible for picking up checks and reporting maintenance issues?
We have done that. That is not a good idea. Does
Okay,
not
I was
work.
wondering.
No, you got to find, and that's like the key decision that you make for when owning these parks is getting good. It's your team is everything, and getting a good
Yeah.
property manager who's there on the ground to do the work it's night and day whether you get a good or bad one. We've gone through situations where we had bad property management, and we almost sold a couple parks because we were just like these parks are crap. We can't turn them around. And then we got a new property manager, and it was all of a sudden just so easy, and everything was yeah, night and day. So yeah, you got to pay them well. And a lot of times when brokers send us their opinion, their pro formas,
Hmm.
their P&L will show a property management expense of like 400, $500. And we have never been able to find somebody uh, who will do the work for that much. And so we
Yeah.
always underwrite like $1,500 a month for a property manager for a park. It's more than market, but you want to have somebody good that you can you can rely on to take care of issues before they even reach you. The ideal situation is you get someone who can solve issues and not bring you all the issues.
Right. And when you're in that process, are you looking for someone who's like, all right, you have to go to the park 3 times a week, or do they live on site? How do you make sure that you can enforce those quality standards?
Um, I mean, we have had people live on site. Right now, we don't have anybody living on site. It's all off site. So they live in the area. They have other jobs, like they're working real jobs, and then this is their
Hmm.
side gig. And we don't give them a specific number of days they need to be at the park. We really, we orient everything towards performance, and so um, the cleanliness of the park, how it looks when we get the videos that they send us, how the park looks, the occupancy, if how many issues that are being brought up. That sometimes tenants will get our phone numbers and they'll start
Oh,
texting us
geez.
about crazy stuff. And um, yeah, so it's just about performance. It's not about how much time they're specifically spending at the property.
So you're not really writing them a very thorough day-to-day operations. It's more like these are the standards that need to be met. Just do it how you need to do it, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, we have SOPs,
Okay.
things that they need to be doing. Um, and we're making sure that those are done, but we don't say that they need to do this on Monday. They need to do
Hmm.
this on Tuesday. Um, we just say this is what needs to happen. This is the result that we need. Go make it happen.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then we find somebody new, and if they do, then it's a great relationship.
Well, let's get into self-storage a little bit. What makes an attractive self-storage deal for your company?
Self storage, it's the same as mobile home RV. Those two asset classes, I feel like a lot of them are more so than other assets are mom and pop run, and
Hmm.
so the golden goose or whatever for self storage is mom and pop. They've owned it for however many years. They haven't put it on Google. They haven't put it on. They don't have a website. They're running everything with a piece of paper. They have low occupancy. They're in a great location. And all you got to do is come in there, oh, and they'll probably have really high delinquency if they're if they're mom and pop, and a lot of them are just like, oh, he pays every 6 months. You don't have to worry about it. So you just go in there and you modernize it. You get it up to, you put it on Google. You build a website. You put it on a CMS system, um, and you just modernize it. And that's the easiest buy for self storage. Self storage. I mean, everything. Real estate is all based on location, and that's what matters the most. For self storage, though, I've been burned so many times by buying self storage in an area that even has moderate property crime. If it's in a relatively rough area for self storage, you are going to get just broken into day after day. It is.
Oh, dude.
I got this one story where it was in Arkansas. And it was a relatively smaller facility, but I'd bought it with the intention of doing a flip, and so fixing it up, putting some security out there, painting it, and then selling it. I bought it really cheap, like 100. It was like 150,000, something like that. And I did all the work, and a year later, I was ready to sell it, put it on market, got it sold. It was under contract, and we were going to close 360, something like that, thousand. I'd put maybe 20, 30 into it. And so it was a really quick sell, and it was perfect. And it was the weekend before the weekend right before we were closing. We were closing that Tuesday, and the weekend before that happened, it just got broken into. These guys came with like what do you call those saws that
Grinders.
cut through metal? Yeah, grinders, and they just cut through doors like just like willy-nilly, and just destroyed the property, and
Oh my
totally,
God.
yeah, and totally um yes, just tanked that deal. And so I took the insurance payout, and it was like so much money to repair it, and I ended up making money on the deal, but not nearly as much as I had hoped. And I've been broken into like that a couple times, and so now I am very strict about where I actually purchase the facility. Like I almost want it to be more rural, because my rural locations they're easier to manage. They're generally more full, and they never get broken into. And if you're in a very populated area like downtown, you need to have it needs to be big enough to the point where you can hire someone to be on site.
Like security,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
otherwise you're just screwed. Or, I mean, that's why like the nicer facilities now, the ones that REITs buy they're all enclosed, and so there's like you have to break through a glass door in order to get to the units. And so that type of product is good downtown, but the drive up step where you're just protected by a little gate is not.
Mhm.
That's not. Yeah, I just won't buy it anymore.
Yeah. One thing that I've always been interested in is how do you determine saturation for self-storage? I mean, that's kind of what's been blowing my mind recently is where I live outside of Dallas here.
Oh
I mean, they keep building these monstrous
yeah.
storage facilities.
Well,
They are
Texas,
everywhere.
Texas is the worst for net rentable per capita. You guys, I don't know why, but people just keep building. And I actually own two in the Dallas area, and they are. It's just crazy how much storage is being built out there. Why are you guys still building storage? You got way too much storage. It's crazy. But there's platforms like Radius Plus where it'll do an analysis of a given area, and then it'll tell you like your net rentable square feet per capita, how much is in that area. And so yeah, it's easy to know, and generally people consider it to be saturated if it's like 9 to 12 per capita. And so Texas is just like way high, and you guys keep building it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. There's right down by my kid's school, there are two giant, they just built two giant opposing, like two different companies right across the street staring at each other, like three, four-story buildings. I mean, I guess it probably is there some sort of correlation between like a number of apartments
Yeah,
as well? Because I imagine a lot of it
apartments.
is like if there's a lot of apartments, you're gonna have a lot of self-storage.
Yeah, and I don't develop, and so I don't look into that kind of the data that like that. When I buy, I look at past performance, and that's I don't want it to be oversaturated. I do look at net rentable per capita, but I don't get that deep into the data. And I'm sure that the guys that build these kind of facilities, there's some other indicator that they're looking at that's like, yeah, this is, yeah. And I mean, how much do they really need to, how much occupancy do they need to drive in order to hit their numbers? I don't know. I'm sure they don't need to be like 70% full. I don't know that, because they're renting them, especially downtown Dallas. The rents are crazy. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so bizarre to me. Um, so of the two, what's your preference? You know, the I guess three, the mobile home parks, the RVs, or the self-storage. What do you really want to double down in, say, 2026 coming up?
Like if you were to just put three of the assets in front of me, they were all great deals. I would probably choose mobile home. Yeah, I would choose a mobile home park. I like them all, but if I had to rank them, it would be mobile home. I don't know. Mobile home, self storage, RV is probably how I do it.
Okay. So why
Yeah,
RVs the least? Is there a different complication, or what would cause you to put them last on the list?
I might actually put self storage last on the list, just because self
Ooh.
storage is more. It's more run like a business, and there's more turn. And so it's a little bit more management intensive. But if you have a good, I mean, like everything, if you have a good management team in place, it's not that bad. But the reason I said for RV is I'm just, the way that I buy them, extended stay RV. I don't know what the future looks like for that model. Right now, it works out really well, and you can fill them with relative ease. I don't know how that's gonna go, 10 years down the line. And so I'm just, yeah, I'm not, I don't know. If it's a good deal, it's a good deal and I'll buy it. But will that continue 10 years down the road? I don't know.
Yeah. So with all these different, products, how do you keep your pipeline full? Are you just scouring the internet, or do you have direct mail campaigns or call campaigns? How do you get your leads?
Calling, texting, that's it. Calling and texting. We've done mail. I've got a couple deals off mail. Um, I just don't like it as much as calling and texting. It's the easiest, you know, it works and it works for a reason. And so just keep doing it.
Do you handle that directly, or do you have a team? I'm always curious, like the acquisition systems that people have, because there's like, for me, there's a pivotal point in every acquisition flow where it goes from whoever's making the initial phone calls and then transitioning into you negotiating the actual purchase. And I think some people do that too early, and I think some people do that too late, and there's consequences for
Mm,
both. So I'm
yeah.
curious how that system flows for you.
Yeah, I agree. There is consequences for both. For this, like what we're going after, I try to have so we have VAs reaching out. I try to have them do as little of the initial conversation as possible. I just want them to confirm that they own the property and that they would consider looking at an offer. And that's it. I don't
Mhm.
want them to dig into the details, just because I feel like they tend to. I don't want them to ruin the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And
They
so
can muss it
if
up.
if if they can confirm motivation and that they are the owner, then I want to take the conversation. And so it just goes. They're calling. They say, talk to Joe, owner. Yes, I own it. Yes, I'd consider a sale. Okay, great. Let me connect you with our owner, Gabe, and he'll take the conversation from here.
Okay, sweet. Now looking into, when before I hit record, I told you one of the things I'm most interested in hearing from folks is, if you have your finger on the pulse of real estate, where do you think it's going? And a lot of people I'm speaking with right now are talking about how they are intending to change their model or diversify or get into another asset or stop what they're doing completely because it doesn't work anymore. Um, how do you feel like things are going to develop for you moving into the next year?
I mean, there's still strong demand. Uh, I get a bunch of letters on the state of the industry for mobile home RV self storage, and there's still
Mhm.
strong demand for all of them. And I mean, there's more competition out there, but if you just keep calling, keep making texts, you're gonna get something eventually.
Yeah.
And I just I don't see, yeah, I don't see a reason to change strategy at this point. yeah, there's still strong demand for all those assets, especially mobile home parks, because
Yeah.
you know, affordability is an issue, and they solve a specific need out there. And so, yeah,
Yeah, I do think mobile home parks are kind of evergreen, um, because there's always going to be demand for
housing.
affordable housing, and when things
Yeah.
get worse, that demand can go up. That was my strategy for a long time in land, is just stay with the affordable properties.
Hmm.
If you have a $20,000 property that you can put a mobile home on, there's always going to be someone who wants to buy that, and oftentimes they have a bunch of cash under their mattress to do so.
Yeah.
The number of times that I did like transactions in like the $15,000 to $30,000 range in cash at a Starbucks is like insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Oh, dude, I think there was a one by my house that I did like three or four in a 2 week period, and I looked over at the baristas one time, and they were like,
This guy's a
I'm
drug
sure they
dealer.
thought I was selling drugs or something, and I was like, I should not do this here
Call the
anymore.
cops.
Those were my early days. Okay, so what are you looking for right now? If anyone in my audience has whatever a lead, or are you looking to secure funding for your next deals? How can we help you?
We don't. I mean, it's always good to connect with other guys out there doing deals, and just if you got a deal that you could bring to us, that's really the bottleneck is good quality deals. So if you got a lead, we'll pay you a fee to bring the deal to us. Other than that, we always like to grow our investor list. And so if you go to the website, therealestateinvestingclub.com, you can click on invest with us and join the list. Um, that's about it.
And what does that look like investing with you?
In terms of,
If they go to your website and they fill out that form, are you looking, I mean, do you have a fund, or is it sort of like people can JV on a
yeah,
deal
no,
with you?
it's a syndication. Yeah, we do a
Okay.
syndication model. And so if you join the list, when we have a deal that we need to raise funding for, I personally I like to find partners, higher net worth people that I can just do maybe one or two people. I don't like to do 15 people that I have to
Yeah.
communicate
Everybody,
with.
everybody contribute $3,000.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, you can join the list, and then when we have a deal that we want to raise funding for, we'll reach out. We're not a high volume, or yeah, we're not a high volume group. We're not doing like 3 deals a month, and so it's last year we closed 3 deals, and three, and that's not even one a quarter. And so they come every once in a while, and we'll reach out.
Okay, well, sweet. Anything else you wanted to share to the listeners today? I know you got a kiddo waiting in the next room ready to barge in
Yeah,
on you.
I hear her yell, and I think the TV stopped, and she wants me to turn it back on. No, no, yeah, no, I guess the piece of advice that I always give people out there, a lot of people, you guys know what you're doing. You're going and you're rocking it. But if you're new and you're just getting started, I always say just get your first deal done. I've done over 600 episodes on my podcast. 90% of them, when I ask, if there's one piece of advice you can give your younger self, what would it be? And they always say, I wish I got started sooner. So if you're thinking about getting into real estate, you've been toying with the idea, you've learned, you've listened to podcasts, it's enough education. Just go out there, get a deal done. Doesn't matter what it is. Buy a piece of land with Logan. Flip a house, do anything that'll get the ball rolling. 10 years down the road, you're going to be happy that you did that. Yeah. So that's my parting wisdom.
Awesome. Folks, go check out the Real Estate Investing Club podcast. It's on all your podcatchers. Gabe, thank you so much for your time. Go attend to that beautiful kiddo in the next room. And folks, we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Logan.